Okay, we're going to do one more example of a grouped frequency distribution. This is kind of a fun data set. This is the number of home runs hit by Babe Ruth each year of his career. And so I guess he had 15. He played baseball for 15 years. And of course he is famous for that 60 home run record. At the time, that was the record of the most home runs in a season. And since then, that has people have beaten that, but at the time that was the record. So what I'm going to have you do is construct a frequency distribution here and histogram using, we'll say, 5 classes. So construct a frequency distribution and histogram using 5 classes. Okay, so use the method that we learned in the previous video, and go ahead, give it your best shot. You can pause the video now and see how you do. Okay, so let's go ahead and we'll try this. You can check your work, see how you did here. It wants me to use 5 classes, so I'm going to start by finding the class width. The minimum value is 22 here. The maximum value, of course, is that 60 home run record. So it'll be 60 minus 22 divided by 5. Get my calculator. So 60 minus 22 divided by 5. And I get like 7.6. Okay, but I'm going to want to round that up. In this case, I would normally round it up to 8. But this is where you always round up there. So my class width will be 8. So now to make my table, I'm going to have class limits. I'll have tallies. And then I'll have the frequency. So I'm going to start with my my minimum value as my first lower class limit. I'm going to add 8 to that, and I get 30 here. That's going to be my next upper class limit. Then I subtract 1. Okay, so if you actually added 8 and you put 30 there, that's a common mistake. If you actually want your class width to be 8, then you need to put 30 down below and subtract 1. Okay, and then I'm going to add 8. I'll get 38. That would make this 37. Add 8. That'd be 46. This would be 45. Add 8. That would be 54. That would make this 53. And then if I add 8 again down here, that would be 62. That would make this 61. So those would be my 5 classes. The maximum value does belong in that last class. Technically you wouldn't need that, though you will use it on your histogram. So now I need the tallies. So 54 would belong in this one. 59 is in that one. 35 here. 41. 46. 25. 47, 60, 54, 46, 49, and 46, 41, 34, and 22. So it looks like I got 2, 2, 2, 5, and 4. So what do I do to double check? I need to add these up. So I get 6, 11, 15, and that is the total number of classes. Okay, so now let's make my histogram. So these are going to be the lower limits. I have 5 classes, so I need to put 6 lower limits. So this would be 22, 30, 38, 46, 54, and this would be that 62, the next lower limit. Okay, and so now these go up to 5, so I'll definitely go up by ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so this would be, for the first class, it goes from 22 to 29. That goes up to 2. The next class goes up to 2. The next one goes up to 2. This one goes up to 5. And then this one goes up to 4. And then you could shade these bars. Like that, and I'm not quite done yet because I need, that's right, a title and some labels. So this would be number of home runs hit by Babe Ruth. This is actually, let me say, this is a difficult one to title and label. So they're not all this difficult, but if you got this right, you're doing really, really well. Okay, this would be number of home runs hit by Babe Ruth, and I would really clarify, and I would say each year of his 15-year career, because people need to know that you're talking about number of home runs hit when, like during one game, during a month, during whatever. You got to make that clear. So down here you would have number of home runs, and this is one thing that is really difficult here. How do you label this axis to make everything clear? And the way you would label that, what are the observations? These are years of his career. These are number of home runs hit each year of his career. So this axis would really be number of years of career. Something like that, right? So then you got the number of home runs. This would be, the height would be the number of years of his career that he got that many home runs. And that, you would almost need that to make this graph clear to the person. Okay, so I don't want you just putting things like Babe Ruth or home runs or HR or something, number of home runs. I want you to really think about what the title would need to be in order to let the person know what the graph is conveying, okay? And then the labels as well, and they need to complement the title so that the person can put it all together. So finally, what is the shape of this data set? And this is kind of another weird one. I could see someone saying, because these are all 2s and then it goes up, I could see someone saying left skewed. And it probably is. This data set is probably somewhat a little left skewed. But it's really hard because there's no extreme outlier. It kind of gradually goes and it stays at 2 for the last 3 classes. And there's 3 classes like that. And really the numbers are not all that different here because this is 2 and that's 5 and that's 4. And so it's a smaller data set. If I split this up differently, these would have shifted around a little bit and it probably wouldn't have looked as left skewed. So it's really a hard one to say. You could say something like roughly symmetrical, even though this does not look symmetrical at all, or something like slightly left skewed. And sometimes it's really a judgment. You can't really tell, but on a quiz or a test or whatever, I'll try to have it extreme enough that it's pretty clear which one you should say that it is. Okay, so that's a nice data set. and it's kind of fun because if you like baseball. And so in the last video here, I'm just going to show some other examples of how you can organize data sets, some of the other common types of graphs. And you don't necessarily, I'm not having you make any of these, but just these are probably things that are already somewhat familiar. And then also I want to show an example of a graph that's misleading. So there is a way of making even your graphs misleading, and we'll look at that as well.